Hey everyone, welcome to the garage. Today we're going to be doing some maintenance on the 2001 BMW 540i. It's due for its annual oil change, and while we're doing an oil change, I'm going to take the opportunity to replace a couple of gaskets that I noticed were leaking. While we're under there, we're going to be replacing the lower oil pan gasket, as well as the Vanos gasket looked like it was leaking, and then the oil sensor, the level sensor gasket. Once the oil pan is coming off, we're going to replace that as well. As you can see, I've already pulled back the car to give a little more room for the jack and work on get the oil change done. Before we can get started on that, we're going to go ahead and put some tire chocks on the back of the car, and then we'll also replace these jack pads. I already did the driver's side. I've had the car for 3 years, and I've never had these on there, so I finally took the opportunity to buy some of these. Yeah, pretty simple. I've never done them before, but yeah, as you can see, it's really simple. Just pull the this little plastic rivet type thing off, and then pop it in there, and then you can even just use your finger to push this in. Super simple. All right, let's get to it. Hey look, no spills. That's a job well done in my book. Alright, while the oil continues to drain, let's take a look at a couple of these leaks, and I'll try to point them out to you. So the first one, once we're up here on the top of the engine bay, is the two Vanos gaskets. So it's going to be a little hard to get a good angle for you guys to see. But if I get you somewhat close and get this light in here, you might be able to see some looks like dry oil. Let's see, right there. Get the camera to focus. Focus. There. Yep, you can see right around the Vanos solenoid, the gasket there. Looks like it's got some oil residue on it. It's all dried up. Alright, so now if we go underneath the car, we'll take a look at the lower oil pan gasket. Alright. So here you can see looks like some weeping around the lower and upper oil pan. So highly suspect that gasket's leaking. With the amount of gunk that is built up on top, it's very plausible that the upper gasket is leaking as well. The car has a little over 178,000 miles on it, so most likely it is, but that's a job for a much later date. So we'll see what this does. And then while we're under here, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to replace I believe this is the low oil level sensor, the gasket on that, one as it's coming out anyways. So looks like the oil is just about drained out. We're going to be dropping this pan anyways. So let's go ahead and get the job started. Looks like we're dealing with some 10 mil bolts. So let's go find that socket and get started. So I'll bring in for a little close-up, not too much to see. And here's the pan itself. I'm gonna finish removing the oil that's left inside of it, put in the oil pan here next to it, and then I'll bring it on the bench, give it a quick inspection. We'll finish pushing out the sensor. It wasn't coming out very easily just by pulling on it, and I didn't want to break it because I don't feel like replacing that anytime soon. So I'll see you on the bench. All right, we're over here at the workbench. I got most of the oil drained out of the pan. Taking a closer look, I do not see any plastic from the timing chain guides in here, so that's very, very good news. I was suspecting there might be some at 178,000 miles, but there's still life in it yet. Hopefully we can get to 200,000 miles on the car, but we'll see what happens. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and finish removing the level sensor here, and then the gasket's going to come out next. Circles. Just about ready to put the lower oil pan back on the upper pan. One thing to note, I forgot to do was to put the drip pan back underneath the car, so I had a nice little puddle I had to clean up, so learn from my mistake and don't do that. So before we put the pan back on, we're going to go ahead and clean the surface of the upper pan with a blue shop towel and some brake clean. Let's go ahead and do that. Gasket stays in place. Get this first one started here. If you want me to make this easier, take my socket. Yeah, much easier. Alright, so now we're just going to snug these up, and then we'll come back and torque these to spec in both the torque, and I believe there is a torque sequence to follow. Let's do the corners first. Alright, I did a little research online. Seems like the general consensus is around 10 Newton meters is the spec for these. I did not find a torque sequence, so we're just going to do some sort of crisscross and try to see it evenly. we're all set here with the lower oil pan. Went in quite smoothly, as you just witnessed. I followed some sort of a pattern. I tried to alternate from 3 different sides. I think we're done here. We can go ahead and go back on top, finish the oil change part, and then we can move on to the Vano solenoid gaskets. Alright, that includes everything I wanted to get done with the car today. We got the lower oil pan gasket changed out. We got the oil level sensor gasket changed out. We got the Vanos gaskets changed out. And then we got an oil change done. So it was not very difficult, pretty low on the challenge level. Just a little time consuming, especially once we get to the Vanos gaskets, the driver's side, which is just a pain to get to access to. But again, not very challenging. So if you made it to this far in the video, I sure thank you.